because we import 130,000 barrels of oil every single day, mostly from dictators, even though Canada has the third largest supply right here at home. This Liberal government prefers dictator oil over clean, responsible Canadian energy. Conservatives will repeal Liberal anti-energy laws and replace them with ones that protect our environment, consult First Nations, and get things built. We support Newfoundland and Labrador's planned increase in oil production to replace imported oil, and within 5 years, our goal is to kick dictator oil in Canada altogether. Europe needs Canadian energy. Instead of helping Putin sell his gas to Europe, financing his illegal war, a strong Conservative government will support projects like GNL Quebec. Here's the choice. Give dollars to dictators or get paychecks in the pockets of Canadians. As a proud Albertan and Canadian, the choice is very clear. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Towards the leadership of His Majesty King Charles III, and let me take this opportunity to invite His Majesty the King to visit Sault Ste. Marie as well. God bless the late Queen, and God save the King.
Hear, hear.
Oral questions, question orale, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Aujourd'hui, on apprend que...
Thank you. Today, we learned that the percentage of Canadians with their own home is at the lowest level in 20 years. That's after seeing house prices double ever since this Prime Minister came to power. At that time, the average family could pay for their monthly housing costs with 32% of their paycheck, and now that's 50%. And the government is going to make that worse by hiking taxes on paychecks, heating, gas, and groceries. Will the government cancel these tax hikes so Canadians can actually buy or keep their own house? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to start by congratulating the new Leader of the Official Opposition. This week started with the funeral ceremony for Her Majesty. And it has given us a moment to reflect on the benefits of Westminster-style democracy. A loyal opposition is essential to our political system. It is very clear that we don't agree about many things. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Honourable Deputy Prime Minister for her kind words and her congratulations. And I look forward to being able to congratulate more young families on the ability to buy their own homes. Unfortunately, it's nice to be in the House, but it would be nice for them to be in a home. But unfortunately, house prices have doubled under this government's policies. In fact, the share of the average Canadian's paycheck needed to pay the average monthly bill on housing has gone from 32% to 50%. The government's solution to raise paycheck taxes and gas taxes and other taxes. Won't they cancel this tax hike so Canadians can pay their...
Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we've just heard EI premiums mentioned, and so I want you to guess what EI premiums were in 2015. $1.88. And guess who was the minister in charge? The current Conservative leader. Now guess what EI premiums will be next year? $1.63. That is 25 cents lower. So the Leader of the Official Opposition needs to tell Canadians, was he misguided then, or is he misguided now?
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Neither, Mr. Speaker. Guess what Canadians paid in 2015 in EI if they earned $60,000 in 2015? $930. Guess what they pay now? $948. That is an increase. Furthermore, if you look at total payroll taxes, they've gone from $3,400 to $4,100 under this government. That's a $700 increase, and the government plans to raise EI premiums. That's the paycheck tax on January 1st, along with other taxes. Why won't they cancel these tax hikes so Canadians can pay their bills?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to remind the Leader of the Official Opposition of something he should have figured out when he was the responsible minister. The CPP and EI contributions every working Canadian makes are how we all pay for our retirement and how we create a safety net for every Canadian in case we lose our jobs. These contributions do not go into general government revenue. At a time of global economic uncertainty, it is the height of irresponsibility for the Conservatives to suggest that we as a country stop putting money away for our retirement.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
In fact, EI premiums do go into general revenues when they go into a surplus, and that is what the government plans to do. They plan to raise both EI and CPP premiums, the paycheck tax, right at a time when we are facing 40-year highs in inflation, all-time highs in increased housing prices, 40-year highs in food price inflation, record food bank use. This is the last time that anyone should be raising any tax. Will the government back down from its planned tax hikes on paychecks and on energy?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the economy, expectations matter. And that is why it is so irresponsible for these Conservatives to talk down the Canadian economy. Yes, things are hard right now, but Canada is better positioned than any country in the world. We have the strongest economic growth and the lowest deficit in the G7. Employment is at historic highs. Inflation is lower in Canada than the US, the UK, and the Eurozone, and it has now come down for 2 months in a row. We'll get through these tough times together.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, now the Liberals would have Canadians believe that they've never had it so good. Well, I guess if you're jetting around the world singing songs in a beautiful lobby, then that might be true. But if you are the 30-year-old stuck living in your parents' basements because the Liberals have doubled housing prices, you might disagree. If you can't fill up your tank with the gas, you might disagree. If you're among the 4 and 5 families that have cut their diets because they can't afford food, you might disagree. And the last thing you would want is a tax hike on your paycheck and on your energy use. Will the Liberals therefore cancel those tax hikes?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Canadians struggling today to make ends meet, the last thing you're going to want to do is trust these highly irresponsible Conservatives. After all, just this spring, their new leader described crypto as, quote, a way to opt out of inflation. Since then, Bitcoin has crashed by 56%. A Canadian who invested in Bitcoin, according to the reckless advice of this new leader, would have seen her life savings destroyed. That's irresponsible, and Canadians are smart enough to know it.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. D'abord, maintenant qu'il est assis, mes saluts.
First of all, now that he's sat down again, I'd like to congratulate the new leader of the opposition. And I'd also like to salute the member for Richmond, Arthabaska, as well. I also have the address of Parliament noted down in case the Prime Minister needs it. And if he does come to Parliament, I would advise him to take Roxham Road. It's a lot faster and no one is monitoring it. And then after that, the microphone was off. The interpreter did not catch the question. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we believe in the strength of our asylum and immigration systems. We will work in close collaboration with relevant stakeholders about the situation at the border. And we are working with our American counterparts about border issues, including the Safe Third Country Agreement. We always work closely with all of our partners in order to respect our national and international obligations. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, perhaps we could attract the Prime Minister to the House by suggesting that he sing his answers. That way he could melodiously tell us why his government is tolerating smugglers' business to get people across the border into Quebec and Canada. And I'd like to know whether the Prime Minister is allowing tens of thousands of people to come in through Roxham Road because he knows that Quebec will not be able to integrate them in French. Is he doing it on purpose? And if not, can the third Safe Country Agreement be suspended immediately, and can immigration powers be ceded to Quebec? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, over the summer, I have spoken with many entrepreneurs throughout the country, including from Quebec. They told me that immigration is essential to our economy, the Canadian and Quebec economies. As the Minister of Finance, I completely agree. Quebec establishes its own immigration targets. Last year, we supported more than 50,000 new permanent residents in the province. I hope all members in this House know that we will work together to support immigrants in Canada and in Quebec. We need them. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
The cost of groceries are up by average 10%. Bread is up 15.4%. Fresh fruits is up by 13.2%. You know what else is up? Corporate profits. Yeah. The corporate profits for the corporation Sobeys are also up by 20.2% when compare 2021 versus 2020. So we know that corporate greed is driving up the cost of living. So what is this government going to do to tackle greedflation caused by corporate greed?
Here, here, here. Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as Canadians know very well, our government is deeply committed to ensuring that everyone in Canada pays their fair share. We're permanently raising the corporate income tax by 1.5% on Canada's largest, most profitable banks and insurance companies. And we've introduced a recovery dividend of 15% on the excess profits of these institutions during the COVID pandemic. We also implemented, effective September 1, a 10% luxury tax on private jets and luxury cars worth more than $100,000 and boats and yachts worth more than $250,000, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
This is a difficult time with the cost of living going up. The cost of groceries has gone up on average 10%. Oil has gone up 27%, pasta 32%. And yet at the same time, big business profits, owners of grocery businesses, have seen their profits go up. Loblaws has seen a 65% increase in profits between 2020, 21 and the present. It is very clear that the greed of big grocery businesses has contributed to inflation. What will the government do to fix this greedflation from the big grocery companies? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we have been and remain determined to ensure that everyone pays their fair share. We will be permanently increasing corporation tax by 1.5% for big banks and insurance companies. And we also introduced a 15% recovery dividend on excess profits from these institutions. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse-les-Échemins-Lévis. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Institute of Peace shows that a large majority of Canadians are concerned about the increase in interest rates and inflation. They are living from paycheck to paycheck, and they need to spend their entire paycheck, or even more than that, which is very bad.